What do you have to say? Who do you want to be? What are you destined to do? It's the impact you make with the message you share. Let's start a ripple. You're going to love today's show. Coming up, I'm going to show you how you can activate your ultimate health with some of the purest products on earth. And I'm also going to give you some relationship advice that your mother never gave you. And we're also going to learn how you can build a financial fortress around your family. Today on Let's Start a Ripple. Want to learn how to activate your health to that ultimate peak of wellness? Coming up next, activation products expert Ian Clark. We all want to feel healthy, to have that energy and radiance that makes us feel like we can face any challenge in our lives. But unfortunately, sometimes we just wake up in the morning and our energy is not there. Well, my guest today is the founder of Activation Products, and he's here to help you have that radiant energy every day of your life. Ian Clark, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, Kristen. It's a pleasure.
So what happens? I mean, we just suddenly wake up as we age in our lives and we're just not feeling as good as we used to.
Right. Well, that's the sowing and reaping principle. You know, we sow seeds and we reap a harvest, and it depends on genetic predisposition. You may reap a harvest you don't want a lot sooner than you should. And we want to age gracefully and age as slowly as possible and have the best possible experience, being fully engaged in our life until we're enjoying our great-grandchildren. That's the object, right? And to really live a life without pain, with all the energy you need to be loving and serving the people around you. So in my journey, I was able to discover those very things by going so far behind the eight ball where I had to learn everything it took to re-optimize every part of my being in existence, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, socially, domestically, financially, and the whole list. So.
You know, you have, before we even go any further, this picture of you, this before and after picture is absolutely shocking. Let's just take a quick look at that right now. The only word I can really say about that is wow. You don't even look like you're the same person. What was going on with you in your life at that time?
Well, I was reaping everything I sowed, to make a long story short. So I really had to learn how to change everything around and bring it back into perspective and to fix all the damage that had happened to my body. Now, that wasn't just a weight issue. That was a toxicity issue. And the toxicity issue was because of my lack of knowledge. And so I had to gain all the knowledge. It took 7 years where I traveled all around the world and I met the people that had done the top level research in each category of health, like brain, heart, nervous system, structure, you name it, on all these levels. And I was able to derive from them the key points and culminate over the last, we're into our 7th year of activation, where we have it all matured. So we're now ready to share with the people on the earth all those key points so they don't ever have to face what I faced, because that's the last thing you want to do. It's very dangerous, and you're playing Russian roulette with your health if you don't do the right things on a daily basis.
Ian, you are a big proponent of hitting a reset button in your life, you know, taking wherever you're at and then just resetting that point. How do you do that?
Well, that's a long answer to that question, but we have an ebook that describes exactly how you can do that for free at home, resetting your autonomic nervous system on a daily basis, getting your whole system re-optimized without doing anything other than a few fun, simple things that are actually very enjoyable.
So an easy reset button. I like the sound of that. In addition to the ebook, what are some other things that you can do if you're feeling not up to what you'd like to feel in your life?
Well, as soon as you wake up in the morning after breathing all night and losing a lot of hydration, you drink 1 quart of water, structured, mineralized, pure water. That rehydrates your body and allows your body to flush out all the toxins that your body has been repairing overnight. All the repair damage of your body, that's what you're doing, you're resting and digesting. So very important to do that first thing. And then you begin to add in nutrients. The key is to go back to original seed. So after all of the going through all the thousands of different products and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, I found out in the end it comes back to the most simplest things of all, which is going back to where all life starts is in the seed form. So the first product that came into my path back in 2006 is Oceans Alive. This is the only raw marine phytoplankton. That's the original seed from the ocean. This holds the status scientifically of the most important nutrient on the planet, because if you removed marine phytoplankton off the earth, everything in the ocean would die, you and I would die, because it produces 70 to 90% of the oxygen we're breathing right today.
And how much of this do you need every day?
You only need 1 dropper full in the morning. Some people will use more if you're into creative things and you're using your brain a lot. This is the super fuel for mental, joyful energy, and it gives you an amazing outlook on life in short order.
Okay.
Now the next thing, I apply this to my body, to my skin. This is magnesium, which is fuel you burn throughout the day. There's about 330 different enzymatic processes that require magnesium.
Has a spray top.
Yep, and that goes in through your skin. Instead of putting it into your digestive tract, where it can give your kidneys some trouble, this goes geographically wherever you put it, automatically right into your microcirculation. And then for the ultimate nutrition, as far as food, this is the only raw, stabilized seed oil on the planet. This is a specific foundational blend, one of several products that we produce in the seed oil world. But that's pumpkin, sunflower, flax, coriander, and black sesame seed.
Now, I've tasted this. I love the taste of this. It sounds simple. I mean, you need a spray, a dropper, and a spoonful.
Right, that's right. So you're going back to original seed. There's no products anywhere. That's what I love about this. These are super unique. They are standalone. They are the greatest of the great. So you go good, great, greater, greatest. And whatever you're going to do, you're going to spend a certain amount of time, energy, and money investing in your health once you're into that mode. And of course, it's very important to realize that it's your responsibility to invest in your own health. So time, energy, and money. If you're going to invest those 3 things, you want to get the maximum return in your investment that you can get, because that is your life. That is your well-being. And it's like oxygen mask on first, and you can love and serve others later, right? But you want to get yourself optimized to be fully engaged, fully functional, living a very long life up until your later years, enjoying your great-grandchildren, and dying in your sleep with no pain.
Ian, thank you so much. I can tell that you have just an incredible abundance of information for all of us who want to feel more health and more radiance. And I love how simple you've really boiled it down to: a spray, a drop, a spoonful. Thank you so much for being here with us on the show.
Yeah, it's been great. Really appreciate you inviting me on here and sharing with the world.
Absolutely.
Put yourself in the right mindset with Drew Canoli. Complete, don't compete.
All right, Fit Lifer, it's another mindset piece. Usually it's Mindset Monday, but it's mindset every day. I want to get you conditioned to this. See, when you wake up in the morning and mindset's the first thing that comes to you, it's going to help you with your transformation or whatever you're going through. Today we're talking about being in a competitive zone. Everywhere you look all over the world, people are competing for resources. They're competing for water. They're competing for food. They're competing for ideas. They're competing on business. They're competing for money. We need to drop all of that. It comes down to completing. Completing means completing others. How can I help my brothers and sisters get what they want? And by getting what they want, all of a sudden it comes back to you. It's the law of reciprocity. It wasn't Lewis or Clark that explored all over America, understanding this great country in which we live. It was Lewis and Clark. It wasn't Orville or Wilbur Wright. It was the Wright brothers. It wasn't Clark or Watson. It was Clark and Watson that understood the very fabric of our DNA in which we exist. When you're working on your transformation, when you're working on yourself, it's so much more powerful to bring other people into the common mission. If you want to transform your own life, start transforming other people's lives. What we've learned over the past 3 years of transforming millions of people all over the country is that when you come together during the transformation process and you actually get outside yourself, you lose yourself in transforming other people, you become the transformed one. John Holmes says this. He says there's no greater exercise for your heart than reaching down and lifting people up. And that's what this is all about. So when that happens, it's like a domino effect that floods out all across the world, and then it creates this ripple that just explodes. It increases the vibration of the planet, raises the consciousness, and that's exactly what we're doing here in this mindset. Step number 1 is become a much better listener. I I've seen it. I go to coffee shops, restaurants all the time, and I see people so fixated. They're on their cell phones, they're talking to that person, they can't put it down for 1 second, and then they leave feeling empty, feeling closed off, feeling depressed, because they're not opening themselves up. They're not becoming empathetic. They're not listening to their brothers and sisters and really helping them get to a point to where they need to be. Step number 2 is, what can you do? Now that you have this conversation, you've experienced this emotional experience, what can you do to help them out? Write it down in your mental bank and know that you can help the universe and that person bring it to fruition. This is how you're gonna feel. You're gonna spring up out of your bed in the morning. You know, normally maybe you feel tired, you feel lethargic, you feel lazy. Well, now you're gonna spring up out of bed and you're gonna wonder how much more of an impact you can have on your life. Not only your life, but other people's lives as well. It's gonna be like walking outside barefoot during a warm rain, and the rain is just flooding over your face, over your body, but you're smiling because you don't care. You know that the sun is there, and you know that you're a part of all living things. This existence that you're creating, this reality that you're bringing into your experience, it's here for the taking right now, and you're the very creator that's doing it. And when you get outside of yourself and start completing, that's when your life is going to change. When you look out into the world and there's all this doom and gloom, chaos and financial crisis and everything that's happening, remember, we can accomplish great things, not alone, not by one man, but we can accomplish great things together.
Do you have the financial information you need to be safe and secure in this financial reality? Coming up next, true financial insider, Matt Reddick. What is the truth about what's really going on in the financial world that we live in today, and how can we protect ourselves and our families against the unexpected things that seem to be happening every single day? Well, my guest today is best-selling author Matt Reddick, and he's here to help us navigate this crazy financial world that we live in. Matt, thanks for being here.
Kristen, I'm excited to be here as well.
So you talk a lot about the new financial reality.
Right.
What is it?
Oh, boy. In my book, All the Rules Have Changed. What you must do to succeed in the new financial reality is so imperative today because we are under a new financial reality. And I define that as the 4 main pillars of our financial future is crumbling today. Being pension plans are gone, Social Security is unstable, the stock market's unreliable, and home equity is unpredictable. And along that, we have a brand new 5th pillar that's rising higher and higher to overshadow everything else, and that is that we're living longer as a nation today. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, we have more people entering the 80s, 90s, and 100 mark than ever before in history. So the old fear of dying shortly after retirement has been replaced by the fear of outliving our assets.
And that can be scary. I mean, I think that anyone who is the breadwinner for their family and they're managing the finances is looking at that pot of money that's shrinking and saying, what am I going to do? Is my family financially safe?
Yeah, they're realizing because of the home equity upside down and people losing their mortgages and the stock market being so volatile the last 15 years, no one's making money. They're just getting back what they lost in 08 and 09, what they lost in 2000, 2001. Pension plans, again, are kind of non-existent. Social Security is going to have to raise limits or lower benefits. So it's really important that all of us take upon ourselves the duty to safeguard and build a financial future, a nest egg that we control.
Now, Matt, you come from inside the financial services industry. Can people find good advice in the financial services industry these days? It seems like there's a lot of conflicting guidance.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've been in financial services for 24 years, and I recently read a survey that said that Americans view financial advisors below attorneys and used car salesmen now. So that's not very good information.
Sorry.
Yeah, not me personally, but our industry, and it's our own fault because there's been so much greed, so much misinformation, so much biased information. That's why I wrote this book, to help consumers to understand what is good information, unbiased information, and to be able to check things out themselves and make good decisions to become what I call a savvy investor and a smarter consumer.
So someone is sitting at home. I mean, they're watching this and they're thinking, I really don't know if my family is financially safe. I don't know what the future holds for me. Where can they get started today? What are a couple steps they can take to build that security around themselves?
Well, that's one of the things that we talk about in my book is the checks and balances financial success system, what we call the No Check Act decision-making process, which can help to build that financial fortress around you, your money, and your family. So it's really a step-by-step process, but it's looking at things like how much debt do we have? Am I saving anything? Do I have an emergency fund? Am I consistently putting money away for the future, my retirement? Do I have the proper insurance to protect myself from the unexpected things that happen? And do I have the legal documents in place in case something happens to me or my spouse? So it's kind of a step-by-step process, and that's what I really outline in the book itself.
It sounds like a lot to think about. I mean, if you're busy in your life and you're raising your kids or running your business, I mean, that was a pretty big list. How do you break it down?
It's like eating an elephant. It's one bite at a time. And so it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. But I know, because I personally lived through being years and years ago, for probably 12 years, I was totally broke, debt up to my eyeballs. I used to say I had so much debt I couldn't see over the edge of it. So you can get yourself out, and I have done it myself. The book talks about my journey, and I really want to give people encouragement and hope that no matter where you are right now, that you can get yourself out and be financially free one day. It's not just a dream, it's a reality that it can happen.
You talk a lot about building a financial fortress, and I love that imagery. What does a financial fortress look like?
Well, a financial fortress, it is kind of like a castle with a moat around it so the enemy can't attack you. It's things that encompass like a reduction of debt or no debt at all. You are saving consistently for an emergency fund, maybe a vacation fund, retirement fund, kids' education. You are investing money for the future, for your retirement. Again, you have the proper insurances, you have the proper legal documents in place, and you're really able to enjoy life and to be financially free.
And sleep.
Yeah, being able to sleep all night long, no matter what the stock market does, is something everybody dreams, and it can become a reality. And one of my chapters talks about stop losing money in the market, capture your gains. And there are specific products and vehicles that can capture your gains and not participate when the market loses 30, 40, 50%.
Absolutely. Matt Reddick, best-selling author. Congratulations, by the way. Thank you for being here with us. All the rules have changed. What you must do to succeed in the new financial reality. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation, Kristen.
To our partners over in the UK with Best You magazine, let's catch up with Bernardo Moya as he talks about life skills for the next generation.
I was actually going to discuss that with you, but that's the thing. The thing is that you look at all the university, kids coming out of university or even coming out of schools, and it's quite, it's quite concerning, kind of the limited skills they have when it comes down just to life skills, communication, language, And so what are your thoughts regarding, what could be done or what could be done better?
It's a great question. I think there needs to be part of the curriculum an element of personal development, personal evolution or personal growth, whatever you want to call it. It's a label that I know a lot of people struggle with. And I think because of the label of personal development, it doesn't necessarily get taken as seriously as it should be. If you said to somebody, learn calculus, they'd sit up. If you said to somebody, learn a language, when you say to somebody, learn personal skills like communication, reading people, understanding your beliefs, your values, understanding how to follow a purpose and to articulate a purpose onto paper and to goal set, the average teacher doesn't know how to do that. And I think what's happened is the academic world has been geared towards people getting into a job. It hasn't been geared towards getting them into developing skills to communicate at a higher level. So I think it needs to be part of the curriculum, and I believe that teachers should be taught it at teacher training schools, and whether they have to bring in people like myself, other speakers, to teach that, or whether they develop a curriculum for it. At the moment, I think most academic people are having to go out. Last year we probably had, through my Turning Point events, 6 or more teachers that were coming because they wanted to learn life skills to take back to their kids. Unfortunately, they're doing that now, actually, so we're getting more people coming through. But it needs to be introduced at that level.
And to see more of this interview, you can subscribe to Best You magazine by visiting the link on this page. We'll be right back. Do you feel like you could have a better relationship, or maybe you'd like to attract a relationship? Coming up next, Kathy Lumsden with the best advice your mother never gave you. Oh, the joy of relationships. They start out exciting, fun, thrilling, and then sometimes they feel frustrating and upsetting and confusing. Well, how do we make sense of the relationships that are in our life, whether it's our spouse, our children, or even our boss? Well, I have an expert today, Kathy Lumsden, who is going to help us with our relationships and to help us have that better connection. Kathy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled.
Now, you wrote an incredible book, and I love the title of it,
Yes, the best advice your mother never gave you. A guide to finding love in the 21st century.
So how did you come up with that title?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Our moms didn't know, our dads didn't know, our grandparents didn't know how to create an emotionally connected, healthy relationship. They didn't have the time, right? They didn't have the resources. So now we know, in the 21st century, we have the answers.
So when I think about my parents, and so many of my friends, their parents, they haven't had success in relationships. I mean, our parents have been divorced, maybe some have never remarried. I know parents who just, after one relationship failed, they just shut down, and there was never anyone in their life again.
And that is so common. Even some of the young people. I actually spoke to a woman today. She's like early 30s. She has no desire to be in a relationship. She's scared to death. So people are starting to see that that so-called institute, number one, isn't working anymore. But they're feeling inside that they can't handle another heartbreak, because heartbreak is anguish. It is anguish.
So where do we go from here? You know, if we're afraid to be in a relationship, if we've created a barrier around ourselves, how do we break through that?
Well, first thing is we need to change your perception about that. So for example, we all have old belief systems. I call them blueprints. Feeling like we're not important, feeling like we're not good enough, feeling like we're failing, or feeling like we're alone. And then, as little people, we develop coping styles. Some of us become pleasers, some of us have a need to control, some of us are order and superiority, I know best all the time, and some just avoid. Every single person has them. The blueprint goes off into your adult life, and every relationship is affected by it. So, how do you change your perception? Well, first of all, we have to get the black sunglasses off, because I'm feeling like I don't matter. I'm feeling like my husband doesn't care about me. I don't matter, my needs. I don't even know what my needs are with my sunglasses on.
So if I see someone with black sunglasses on, is that what they're thinking?
No. No, this is just a fun exercise. This is just for fun. So I say to people, what's a different perception? How about we look at it through rose-colored glasses? Okay? What's the world look like this way? Well, it's perfect. Is it reality? No, but either are the black sunglasses, but people think the black sunglasses are reality, right? So how about we look just through facts? What are the facts that you actually are not good enough? SpongeBob. There aren't any facts most of the time. If you actually stop and think about your thinking, ask your friends. Ask your friends sometimes. When you're really down, you need to get that. So changing your perception is extremely important, number one. 80-20 rule, 80% of your emotional reactivity is coming from those old belief systems. Catch it, know it. Know that your partner who's reacting at you also has an old blueprint to help you stop personalizing it. These are just a few tips that I talk about.
Now, Kathy, you are truly an expert. You're an Adlerian psychotherapist. And how long have you been in practice?
Over 25 years, worked with over 100,000 different clients throughout my life, yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand that this is your first book. Do you have another one that's coming out?
Yes, I'm writing another book, co-authoring it with Evita Roche, and it's called Talking Naked.
Talking Naked. That's an interesting sounding book. What does it mean to be talking naked? Is it what it sounds like?
No. It's how can you be transparent in a relationship? How can you learn to be authentic and not be frightened to be who you really are? Right? Because a lot of us feel like if you get too close to me and you really find out what I'm like, you're going to leave me. And that's number one fear that everybody has, is you're going to leave me, I'm going to be alone, and I'm not going to be loved.
That's interesting that that's the number one fear, that you're going to leave me. I mean, I do see that not only within my friendships, and it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But how do we make peace with that fear of being left or abandonment?
Abandonment. Well, first of all, we need to really understand that that is a story. It's not a reality. That is your blueprint. So catch yourself finding yourself talking that way and change your thinking around.
Kathy Lumsden, thank you so much for being here with us, and your book, The Best Advice Your Mother Never Gave You, and Talking Naked, coming out soon. And thank you again for being here on the show.
Thanks, Kristen. It was great.
"20 years ago, this is what I saw when I looked in the mirror. Looking good. Well, the years rolled by, and I kept seeing that same fit-looking bloke looking back at me. Who was I kidding? I didn't look like that anymore. I look like I've swallowed a sheep. So then I started to switch to alternative paths, and I tried everything. I did witch doctors, I did mud baths, I did, you know, acupuncture, I did the lot. The one thing which I was really afraid to face up to was changing what I put into my mouth.
I've never heard of a raw food restaurant. Raw food, how do you cook raw food?
Look at that, breakfast.
This looks like it should be mowed.
It actually was mowed, and then it turned into that.
I didn't know anything about vegetarians. I knew Gandhi was a vegetarian. And vegan, I thought vegan was a planet. You know, I had no idea of that world.
Who do you talk to when things are going well and when things are not going so well? We're here in Sedona, Arizona, and we're covering my series, Spirituality Boot Camp, the 7 principles of spiritual practice. And the last principle is the principle of prayer. You know, we think about prayer as something that we do when there's a crisis in our lives, or as a way of saying thank you and communicating and connecting when we go to church on Sundays. But the kind of prayer that I'm talking about is a daily conversation with the divine. You know, it doesn't really matter which spiritual tradition that you're part of, you know, whether you're praying through your religion or an ancient tradition, or you're even just using a very authentic, heart-centered conversation with God. You know, they say it's the same to just say a prayer or even to read a prayer. And I know for a fact myself that prayers from all over the world and from every tradition work. So your exercise for this principle is to add prayer, a daily diet of prayer, to your everyday life. This conversation directly between yourself and your Creator, whatever you want to call that connection, is an incredible conversation that will transform your life from the inside out. You can do this a lot of different ways. You can collect a series of prayers from all over the world. You can say a mantra or even recite the rosary. Or you can just have a very honest, authentic conversation, a connection between you and the energy that you believe is the source of your creation. You will find that it creates a magical relationship inside your life. You'll get results with Spirituality Boot Camp.
You're going to love today's show.
I hope you like the guest experts on today's show. You know, I have found that often all it takes is one word, one sentence, or one thought to completely transform your life. So if you heard something today that inspired you, that touched you, that made you think that, you know, you could step into that better life, I encourage you to take action. That's all it takes, just to take that action and move forward. So let's start a ripple.